Howdy and welcome back. This is Ethelred, the worst Civ player on YouTube. Let's play some Civ. This time as Russia, and we'll be playing on the giant Earth map from Yet Not Another Earth map pack. That is the only mod which we've got enabled for this series. All the other mods have been disabled. You'll note that we have 12 AIs, 30 city-states, and the difficulty level is Emperor at an epic pace. All victory types are enabled, and there are no unusual options, with the exception of the Bosphorus Strait is a sea. And I do this actually not knowing really what the map will look like or what the effect is, but just because one of the early cultures that we'll be talking about developed along the Bosphorus Strait, and so I thought maybe that would spice things up a little bit. Now, before I click Start Game, I'm going to talk about 1,000 years of prehistory. And we're going to just breeze through this. So, all of these early Russian civilizations grew up along the Volga River in western Russia. And that river takes a huge bend at one point called the Samara Bend. So the culture which grew up in that bend of the river, we've called the Samaran culture. And they were a Neolithic people who spoke Proto-Indo-European, which is a very critically important language. It looks like they were actually the creators of that language, and we'll talk more about that language once we get into the game. But right now it's enough to know that these people were apparently the creators of this language, which went on to create everything from Afrikaans and Sanskrit to Latin, German, English, all these languages to the West and the Middle East. We know also that the Samara people were closely tied to their horses, which they represented in their art. We know that they ate them, and we also know, interestingly enough, that they were buried with their horses. So these burial spots were really shallow. They were shallow graves that they would pile over with rocks to make a cairn. And along with the horse and some pieces of art that usually depicted horses, you may have a few weapons. Bone or flint daggers, arrowheads, etc. What else do we know about them? I feel like I'm missing something. Anyway, so, oh yes, I am missing something, which is actually rather important. The human body was smothered in ochre, and you'll see these burial rites kind of evolve over time, but they stay true to some themes. So let's click Start Game, and at the beginning of the game, the Samara culture has actually faded and has been replaced with another one. But we'll let the narrator do what he does.
Greetings upon thee, your Imperial Majesty Catherine, wondrous Empress of all the Russias. At your command lies the largest country in the world. Mighty Russia stretches from the Pacific Ocean in the east to the Baltic Sea in the west. Despite wars, droughts, and every manner of disaster, the heroic Russian people survive and prosper. Their artists and scientists among the best in the world. The empire today remains one of the strongest ever seen in human history.
Great. So that's enough of that. And we've got some growth tiles. We've got 2 wheat, which is great. We've got deer. We don't have any luxuries within sight, and that's kind of worrisome. But we'll go ahead and found here. So long as we're not left in the wind like we were with the English game, where we had no luxuries starting out. So I want to talk a little bit about the culture which came along in 4000 BC. So this is the Samara Bend of the Volga River. That's where the Samara culture were. This, you might notice right there, is a tributary river to the Volga, and that's called the Kama River. So right at the point where this Kama River intersected the Volga, there was a culture starting around 4000 BC called the Kama culture. Well, what we call the Kama culture. Excuse me. And they appear to have been almost entirely fishermen, not really particularly agrarian. So let's go ahead and focus on the game for just a second. Can I change the name of the city that I'm settling? Can I? Can I right-click on this? Great. So this is what I want to do. Because it's 4000 BC, and this is when we know that Kama culture existed, we're going to rename this Kama. Alright. And we will start work on a scout to help us. Oh, look, right there. Oh, that is beautiful. Marble. We will be picking up that marble. I love that. That is so good. Marble on a hill. Alright, so we will also do pottery for our first. In fact, I can just lock in. I think that I'm going to go for... Nope, I'm going to do pottery, and then I'll move on to something else. So, about the Kama culture and about Proto-Indo-European. Their homes along the Volga and Kama rivers, they don't appear to have been defended at all. So they were not apparently extremely warlike, or they were not concerned about others encroaching on their territory. They must have felt relatively secure. Let's go ahead and click next turn. I don't want to take these early turns too fast because I don't want to make any mistakes here. But oh well, now there's some ivory. So I'm going to guess that, geez, so this is the end of the Volga. Okay, this has got to be the Volga continuing along here. Yeah, and if that's the case, this actually may be the Samara Bend. So I may have had my geography a bit wrong. Alright, so the Kama. Around, well, okay, that's interesting. So, turns are not taking nearly as long as I had expected. So, by the time they were getting to the next talking point, that's going to be many turns from now. So I'll talk a little bit about Proto-Indo-European. This language is hypothesized only because there are linguistic tricks where you can follow languages backwards in time. And that's because you can see in recorded history of the languages that have been studied that there are very defined rules of what's called morphation, or change, language change. And we can walk those backwards and forwards. For instance, okay, let's see. In the Latin languages, pater, which is father, all of the words that started with an initial P were replaced at one point as they went into German. Oh, good. Ruins. With the initial F sound. So pater became fater. So you have patri in Latin and padre in Spanish, but you have father in German, or vater, I think, in German, and then father in English. So you just have this set of rules, and you walk them all backwards in time, and you realize that there's a lot of languages which are related to one another. Let's see. Where do I want this scout to explore? You know what I think I'm going to have him do? I think I'm going to have him take a turn around here and then head west towards where we know Europe is. So let's do something like that. And a second scout? Yeah, I think a second scout. We're going to do 2 scouts, and we're going to try to meet as many civilizations as possible in order to get a discount to our research. And I'm also going to set a timer on this game, as I usually do. I don't know how much time has elapsed, so I'm going to set that at 22 minutes. Alright, so Proto-Indo-European. Anyway, yeah, so if you look at everything in Europe, for sure everything in Europe, and then also, I think the Indian languages of Hindu, and, well, the predecessor to Hindu, Sanskrit. So we found Kiev. Okay, so this would be approximately Ukraine here. Neat. All right, so we'll just... Oh, no, I was going to come down here. That's right. What else do we have here? Greek, Afrikaans. Now, see, that language surprised me. I actually did not expect to find Afrikaans as a related language. Anyway, all of these were related to one another. They all have similarities. For instance, I'm going to BS just a little bit here. But this is one of those cocktail stories I like to tell after a beer or two. And I might be wrong. And if you know that I'm wrong, let me know. But, yay, another ruin. So I think it's like Norwegian that has... So this is continuing on the pater, fater. Norwegian, all of the initial P's became V's. So the initial pater became vater or vader. So it really... Check me if I'm just talking out my butt here, but I think that Darth Vader or Darth Vader pretty much literally means Dark Father. So I don't know if there was such a big reveal there that he was Luke's dad. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. I just like to talk about that story. So about this time in history, I will say that the Kama culture was starting to erect some geoglyphs. And a geoglyph is a map. Just got a map. That's almost useless. Thank you. Okay, but yeah, we'll come over here. So, geoglyph, yeah. And what was depicted on the geoglyph? They made this huge thing. What's a geoglyph? It is art made on the ground, and typically only really appreciable by space. You've heard about these things before. They're, in Southwest America and places like that, where there's these things made in the desert out of rocks that you can't appreciate from the ground, but you can appreciate from the space station. And then you get History Channel shows about alien astronauts and all of this. I'm not going to say any of this, but that's what a geoglyph is. So this dude, I think, is going to come this way. And we'll send that scout to go explore. Right now, since I've got two scouts, maybe what I'll do is I'll send this scout out to go explore Europe and this scout to go explore to see what is to the east of me, which may be nothing, but it also may be the Huns and the Mongols. So those cultures would be worth finding. In the meantime, let's build a monument. Yeah, we'll get one turn into the monument, and then we'll probably move to granary. Did we get granary? Yeah, we do. Okay, so granary it is. And then we'll put a shrine on. And we will find animals. We will find horses if we can. So, yes, this geoglyph, big art made on the ground with stones. And that's exactly what they did. They put stones, these slab stones, into clay on the side of a hill in this mountain range, which is relatively nearby. And what did they depict? Well, I've seen a diagram of it, and honestly, what is it? Dude, I don't know. But it's got 4 legs, and antlers, and a tail, and then a snout like an elephant. So, if you know what that is, more power to you. But it was big. I mean, it was like 600 feet across. So, it's a really big 4-legged something. That was in 3600. Alright, so we are going to go tradition because everybody on the internet says tradition's easier than liberty, and I'm obviously not good enough to try anything harder than the easiest possible circumstance. So we'll go with tradition. And what am I going to do with this warrior now? I think actually I'll have him scout along the east side of this lake and then come down to Kiev and try to steal a worker. I think that sounds like a plan. Riga? I don't know anything about Riga. Honestly, nothing at all. But of course, I don't know anything about Yerevan either, so whatever. Is this a dead end? No, not exactly. And we've got the marble now. So what technology is needed to work marble? I think is it this? Yes. So after we get animal husbandry, let's go mining masonry. And I'm prioritizing horses because I would like to get chariot archers early on, because after all, the Cossacks are a mounted unit. They do use horses. They promote out of chariot archers, so there you go. And there's salt. Wouldn't that be a dandy to be able to start my second city there? Speaking of second cities, I see a bunch of great places right here to found. So I might do something like that. All right. And we've got Portugal. So nice to meet you, ma'am. Yes, well, goodbye. Thanks. So where is that? Oh, our scouts ran into one another. Now I need to keep track of what scouts get close to my city, because those people I will go ahead and trade embassies with right away, because obviously they've already discovered Kama. And ruin. Okay, got ourselves the archer upgrade. I think this scout I'm just going to send beeline east to see what I can find. And this guy I think I'm going to have around this lake and come back to Kama. Whereas this guy's going to try to find his way into Europe. I think actually I probably just found it. This might be Finland up here. Finland, Sweden, all of those places. With the Winter War and all of that history we'll get to later. Yeah, I think that's Finland. Just keep moving. Oh, great. So I've got 2 scouts out because I want to pick up ruins. And what I'd really love to get is religion. And I get the worst, which is discovery of barbarians. So that sucks. And that's got to be Finland over there. So it makes me wonder if Sweden is in this game. Actually, I think I might just go check that out real quick and then bring my unit back. How's the granary coming? It's not coming. Wittenberg. Okay, so far, only one civilization, which is not... I was going to say, only one civilization, and it's not at all warlike. But here's the Vikings. So, okay, the Vikings are up here on this peninsula. That's good to know. I'm just going to take one more step onto that peninsula to see if I can find Sweden, and then I'm going to bring my unit home-ish. Actually, probably to Kiev to go see if there's any workers for me. Oh, wait. Portuguese, Vikings. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to go one more step. Okay, I'll take one more step after that. Pantheon founded. Who got what? God of the open sky. Culture from pastures. Well, I wouldn't have taken that. And there's a barb. So I'm going to withdraw my warrior at this point. Bring him down here to Kiev. Look for a worker. Holy smokes! Reddit would love that spot. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Hill, desert here. You could have Petra here. There's salt in abundance. River, wheat over here. Oh my gosh. If that wasn't so insanely far away from my capital, I would start something right there. But that is not in the cards for us. Antwerp. Okay. Is it just me, or is it taking a long time for this granary to come along? So we're going to beeline legalism, well, for the point of monarchy. So we're going to bypass this aristocracy, because I don't plan on building any early wonders in this game anyway, so that's no loss. Who knows, maybe I'll get far enough over here I find China or something like that.
Thou shalt.
Okay, excuse me. Kama has grown. It's obviously growing towards the wheat tiles. And research. So now we're going to beeline for quarry. And I've got to get a worker. So let's go check. Actually, let's check Riga first, and then we'll go check Kiev. I think it's still a little early for them to have their workers out, but it's worth checking. And nice. So there's some culture. Again, I wish that was religion. I would love to have a religion. I love having religion in these games, but I'm not going to prioritize it like I did on the last game, where I killed myself to get Stonehenge out. And there were a lot of what Filthy Robot would call opportunity costs, what you're not doing if you're working on something else. And working on Stonehenge really cost me. Oh, great, Spain's here. So, knowing this map, that means that they've already got a natural wonder, which is the Rock of Gibraltar. So that means that they're pretty much superpowered now. And we got faith. So there's our Pantheon. Now, what are we going to do for our Pantheon? Okay, so what improvements go on wheat? Tell me it's a pasture. No, it's not a pasture. It's a farm. Okay, and then we've got marble, but we only have one marble. And I don't want to have any Pantheon which requires that I go get trapping set up. Wow, there's a lot of furs up here. Oh, duh. That's my luxury. Furs. Okay. Did I only find that with animal husbandry? No. No. Only horses. Which, speaking of which... Wow, that's a shame. There's no horses that I can see, which is too bad because as the Kama people, I would have loved to have had horses so that I could be buried with them. Alright, so let's found and I don't really have a luxury that I could use here. Is there something that I could get faith off of? God of War, copper, iron, salt, desert tiles, tundra tiles without forest, natural wonders, gold and silver, and gems and pearls. I got none of that. So we'll go with God King because that will give us at least one faith. And besides, it'll give us everything else, including production. And it seems like we need it. So, holy smokes, what are you doing if you're not picking up that ruin? And wow, the game just keeps getting better as I move east. Look, gyms, oases. Gosh, I kind of wish I should. Are you kidding me? Dude, you're going to have to buy me a drink before you ask me to go to war with somebody. Jeez. But you know, I could say yes and go into a worthless war. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not feeling that warlike tonight. Alright, we'll just keep going till we hit the Pacific. And over here, oh yeah, we're checking to see if Riga's got any workers. No, they don't, so we'll come down here and check Kiev.
Even
trapping, so now we can go trap those furs. Got ourselves, I guess, over here. No, that got stolen. So what was the secret of the advanced technology that we got? What advanced tech did we get? Don't know. Well, let's see. So, I guess the only question I have now is England in the game? Because I just determined Germany and France isn't. England? Celts? Other than that, I'll have to move this unit down to Africa. Just scout out down there. Okay, we got wheat. We'll start growing now. That's a fact. So the Vikings have discovered my secret location. Fine. I will trade with them. What do we got there? Silk? I think that's silk. Cotton. Why does it keep asking me if I want to go to war? I don't. Not right now. Just want to spot the English. Get out of my way. Up here? Maybe I'll go one more spot. Okay. So I'm going to guess that the English aren't in this game, but that doesn't rule out the Celts. We'll come down here and see if we can get over to Africa. And Kiev? You still don't have a worker out. I'm not going to... Oh, there's China. I'm not going to wait too long for a worker. And the Celts are in it. Okay, so we've just met the Celts. That's nice. Yeah, I know I'm metagaming in that I'm, using my understanding of the map to my own advantage. But this map is really hard, so I don't feel bad about that. No worker. If after this monument, neither Riga nor Kiev has a worker out, then I'm going to just build a worker. I'm not going to keep waiting on it. Oh, you know what? History. And 1,000 years has passed. Let's check my notes here. So, the Kama. They were a Copper Age people. And they were a mixture of European and Caucasus Mountains hunters and gatherers. So, this is one of the defining traits of... I'll accept that deal because there's no way they're going to go to war with me. They're way too far away. So, thank you for the gold. I appreciate it. Anyway, Russia has a real mystique in the West's mind, and that's because they are simultaneously European and not European. They, the uncanny valley with robots, where you get a robot that looks totally alien to human beings, and it's not creepy. But then you get a robot which looks... Okay, let's skip it. You get a robot that looks exactly like a human, and that's not creepy. But you get a robot that's somewhere halfway in between, and that's creepy as hell. And that's kind of what the Russians are for the West. Because they're half European, but they're half not. And that's just creepy as hell in the imagination of the West. So, and that starts all the way back here with the Kama people, who were a mixture of hunters and gatherers from the Caucasus Mountains and from the European areas. Okay, so what else? Oh, but they didn't last long. The Kama, they died off. And this cultural churn here along the Volga River happens a lot. They were replaced by a culture that, again, rhymes with Kama, but this is Yamna. And I don't mean just rhyming in a name. I mean rhyming in, their culture itself. So let's see. They speak Proto-Indo-European just like everybody else. They were mostly nomadic, but they had some agricultural settlements near the rivers. And this brings me up to 3,000. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Yamna's burial rites, which they kind of built on, no pun intended, they built on the cairn. So the cairn goes over the burial spot. And let's, boom, steal a war. Yeah, we got a worker. We got the worker. Anyway. So we will get, with that tradition, policy, legalism, we will get a amphitheater. Because we already have a monument. So we will get a free amphitheater eventually. And with the shrine coming online, that's super duper. And then I guess we'll get... Do we need gold? Or do we need... a second worker. A second worker. Golly, I don't know which to prioritize. What was I saying? Oh yes, the burial rites and the cairn. So by now the Yamna had built on that. I accepted her opportunity for the free gold as well because she's too far away. Anyway, the cairn, yes, they built up on it. And they like literally built up on the cairn. And they made a structure called a kurgan, which all of the following cultures along the Volga used, the kurgan. And it's kind of like in English history, where you had the long mounds, which were built on top of the dead. You'd pile up this big hill of soil, and inside you would inter all of your dead. Well, these Yamnans did the same thing. And they would, use stone and earth to build a fortification in which they would place their dead and the horses and the art which depicted horses. And this structure was called a kurgan. So that will be used by everyone for the next 1,000 years or so. That brings us to 2950. And the note I've got here is about some DNA analysis which has been done. Oh good, another growth tile. So let's straight away go start building a farm on that wheat. With a granary, that'll be super awesome, dude. Vatican City, nice. Oh yeah, the DNA analysis. So they can do so many neat things with DNA these days. There's some note that the Yamna were tall, tan-skinned individuals with brown eyes and usually black hair. Uh-oh. It is time for us to call this episode at a quits. So, Chinese have already got their second city founded. We are building our first farm. Hooray, hooray. On wheat with a granary. Hooray, hooray. And we've met a lot of people, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost half of the AIs. So I think this has been a really good start. If you think so, click like. And if you think I suck, click dislike. I don't take offense to it. You've got to have a thick skin to make videos on YouTube. Dude, click dislike if you don't like me. And I will go watch this video again, and I will try to figure out what about me sucked, so I will not be so sucky next time. Then click subscribe either way so you can hear the rest of Russia's history. We'll go through it. It's a lot of fun. There have been a bunch of really fantastic people. And we'll be covering Lenin and Stalin and all these big guys. So stick with us, and I hope you had a great day.